Okay, so today we are going to cover implementing diversity programs. Develop, implement, and integrate short-term and long-term supplier diversity programs and initiatives. So you need a baseline, can be established through a spend analysis review. Having a clear picture of the company's current state will assist in creating a gap closing plan. Summary should be presented to executive champions to ensure resource and budget support is available or provided. One element of forecasting is spend analysis. So properly selecting spend analysis technology can greatly enhance the speed of strategic sourcing and supplier diversity initiatives. Prior to starting a spend analysis, stakeholders must be interviewed to find all sources of data. Additional steps in building a spend database are establishing mapping between category codes and category maps, normalize the supplier information, meaning make sure all the suppliers' names are only spelled one way, perform supplier mapping, refine mapping with financial systems data, combine spend data into a unified database, create initial reports, create QA initial reports, provide feedback, and modify the database based on feedback. Spend analysis output. The most common output of the spend analysis is frequently called the spend tree. Waterfall, ogive, and spend tree charts are all used. Typically, spend analysis involves reviewing spend reports, benchmarking, and assessing category and opportunity. So here's an example of spend tree for drilling services. This is a waterfall chart for the same thing, drilling services again. This is an ogive chart for the same thing, drilling services. Then you can combine the waterfall with the ogive and just make the ogive a line above it, often used in a Pareto analysis. Spend analysis. When analyzing spend, supply management should review spend size, savings percentages, past experiences, competitiveness of the market, volume related to the market, how recently the category was strategically sourced, supplier fragmentation, underlying commodity market conditions, diverse suppliers in the market, payment terms, and new potential business that will be sourced. Overall supplier diversity strategy. So diversity goals may appear to conflict with cost and value improvement objectives. Organizations may encounter varying degrees of active or passive resistance to supplier or diversity program efforts. And prejudicial attitudes can be overcome through education and training. This can be alleviated through seminars, networking, and leadership and guidance from the supply management professional and the diverse supplier coordinators, if you got them. Viable supplier diversity programs are the result of careful planning, strong alignment with corporate goals, and consideration of the various facets involved in the goal-setting process. And basically, you want them to dovetail with your corporate goals and support those goals. Methods to capture supplier diversity data, building a diverse supplier database, list of approved and qualified diverse suppliers, or you can just set a flag in your ERP database that you can sort on. Steps to building a diverse supplier database. Anticipate the suppliers in the organization may need to create a list of them, develop evaluation criteria, locate sources, outreach events and things, record information about capabilities and size of diverse suppliers, visit the diverse suppliers' facilities, schedule capability presentations with the buying organization of internal customers, invest in diverse suppliers if required, and key elements include name, location, capability, performance, speed, etc. Market analysis. You want to look at things like market conditions, supplier dynamics, evolution of technology, impact of changing industry dynamics on the marketplace, buyer position in the marketplace, competitiveness, threat of new entrants, how tariffs are affecting it. After identifying the market dynamics above, Porter's five forces or SCP models analysis are typically employed to document the buying organization's strength in the marketplace. This is a critical component in determining the appropriate leveraging strategy. So this is the SCP framework, which stands for Structure, Conduct, Performance. Structure, Conduct, Performance. And external shocks would be things like tariffs. And one affects the structure, affects conduct, which affects performance, and conduct can affect structure, and so on and so forth. This is the static view. The dynamic view would be where you're making predictions. Static view, you're just kind of describing it. Here's an article on how to build one. I think this came from McKinsey, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I guess we're not going to look at that. Yeah, those aren't coming up. But McKinsey's very big on this, the consulting firm. This is Porter's five forces. This describes the five forces in Porter's. This is, I think, a value line example. No, I guess this is just an internet example. But that's one way it could look. Here's a template if you want to use it. SWOT analysis, method often used to evaluate supply base. So key elements to consider: compliance with laws and regs. Government also provides advice on definitions and classifications. Global environment, market conditions in diverse supplier markets. Geographical market shifts. Internal resources and emerging supply chain practices. Usually with a SWOT, you're going to look at a single company and how it relates to the industry. So there's a SWOT analysis for Starbucks. And this is from Value Line, 2016. It's just in paragraph form, that works. And this is an article on how to, I think. Yeah. When you use it, 4 parts. Not a super long article, but it'll kind of give you an idea of what SWOT is all about and how it should be used. Leveraging technology, various sourcing, risk management, and financial analysis tools can be populated with data from diverse suppliers. Supplier certifications, financial strength, technical capabilities, etc. can all be put in there with the spend data. Leveraging risk management tools that are driven by AI will also inform of pending events or not. Corporate internet sites can be very useful for sharing information. And basic software programs for monitoring the supplier diversity program are Excel and Access. Yeah, pretty common. More advanced applications can use Minitab and SPSS. Web-based supply management and research is important to supply strategies. Much electronic commerce is also conducted through the web. And then supplier diversity implementation strategy. Following should be part of any diversity program. Got to have goals and performance reviews. You got to provide web-based database that contains supplier information and have the diverse suppliers fill in their information. Institute second and third tier diversity spend targets with your supply base. establish a mentoring program for suppliers, develop internal awareness program for supplier diversity, and actively participate in outside organizations and meetings. Invest in training for diverse suppliers, hold seminars, transition to a comprehensive strategy, align supplier diversity with global sourcing, provide capital when necessary, and provide company employee expertise when needed. May be necessary to provide funding to diverse suppliers because they lack capital. Depends on what you were asking them to do. All right, so part of the spend analysis process is to cleanse databases to produce reports to identify expenditures by category, supplier, and company. What is the deliverable of a spend analysis? Supply chain audit? No. Specific sourcing forecast report? Maybe. Spend tree broken down by categorization? Definitely. Spend analysis report broken down by department? Probably not. So I'd say it's between B and C, and I would go with C because they talked about spend trees. And C is correct. All right, next question. Which of the following most often refers to the process of gathering and analyzing information about the aggregate forces of commerce in industries? Commerce intelligence? No, that's half right. Strategic supply management? Nope. Formal financial market analysis? Nope. It's financial market analysis. Supply market intelligence. That sounds like the one. Yep. Supply market intelligence. Okay, so summary. A minority-owned business is defined as one that is at least 51% owned, controlled, and operated by an ethnic or racially minority group member. Woman-owned business is the same thing, 51% controlled by one or more women. Benchmark is a standard used in measuring an organization's performance, and benchmarking is the process by which selected practices of one organization are compared to another to establish targets. A best practice is a leading edge activity that is innovative and successful and thus provides a more effective way of doing business. So benchmarking and best practices go together. An organization's sourcing approach is typically driven by market dynamics and their position in the marketplace. And before an organization contracts with a diverse supplier, they should actively build a diverse supplier database. And now there's some questions out there. No, you want questions. 1B SD-B-1. We got a bunch again. 20. So go ahead and get on them. We'll go over the answers. All right, let's go over some answers here. To be one practice questions. All right, number one is alpha. Two is delta. Spell check never likes spend. Three is also delta. Is delta. Five is alpha. Six is bravo. Seven is delta. Eight is delta. Nine is Charlie. 10 is Charlie. 11 is delta. 12 is delta. 13 is bravo. 14 is also bravo. 15 is delta. 16 is Charlie. 17 is Charlie. 18 is delta. 19 is delta. 20 is bravo. I got 21 here, but I think we only had 20 questions. Let's see if I missed one. 20. Nope. What happened to question 21? All right. We'll cover another module tomorrow.